Shalom Israel, once again, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, forever and ever. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect, beginning with the 144,000. Lord willing, this lesson will be edifying to the hopeful elect. I'll try to make it as brief as possible, and I will entitle this one here, Many Women Will Abandon Their Children in These Coming Days. Many women will abandon their children in these coming days. Why? Because the coming days are, every day that goes past, we're one day closer to the end of the world, the end of this world, this rulership of the wicked of the earth. The day of the Lord's judgment, the day of the Lord's ultimate judgment. And there are many judgments that will be executed leading up to the day of the Lord's ultimate judgment. And that's one of them. Many women abandoning their own children. Okay, so fair use, this is for educational purposes only.
I don't even do all this, but this lady, y'all, because I know people like to lie. Motherfuckers gonna lie, make it seem like I didn't do my part. Y'all, this lady straight left her baby on me. I was being hella professional. Y'all know I'm up here getting ready for work. I look a mess. But this lady straight left her baby on me, y'all. If y'all go to the original post that I did, I was being very professional. I even agreed to help her out as long as you give me a time to get your kid dropped off. This lady never responded. And she's older, y'all. The lady not even a couple years, she's older than me. Why are you leaving your child with somebody you don't even know? And y'all, she is so pretty. Y'all know I have a daughter. She is so pretty. So pretty, so cute. So far. Why would you leave your baby with somebody you don't even know? I did the ride with her last night, y'all. Literally took her to where she needed to go. She claimed she had.
All right, so there you have it, right? A woman left her baby with the Uber driver, which would be this woman, while she went into a club, and she gave the Uber driver some bogus addresses to drop the baby off, and nobody would come to the door, so the Uber driver took the baby home and had to keep the baby overnight because the mom wouldn't answer the phone. So there's like 3-4 more slides of this woman going on about the incident. You could check it out for yourself. You probably already saw it. I guess she did this after posting. I don't know if it was on Facebook or what. It says, "Don't fucking book this girl for a ride, y'all. She gonna have you do a ride and leave her kid on you to be in the club." I try to be professional, but nah, mind y'all, I still have the kid. Quita Mayes, I guess that's the customer's name. You wrong as fuck. So if this was my woman doing Uber and she came back in the house with a baby, I'd be pissed the fuck off. I'd be mad as hell, because that's careless in itself. It's that's not professional. She had, pretty sure she had good intentions, and but in all reality, it was a careless and unwise decision to make. Because you taking on a responsibility. All right, that's not a part of your job description. When a customer gets out of gets inside of the car with any items, right? How much more a child? Any, take your items. If you leave a cell phone in my car, I'm gonna have to bring you back. I'm gonna have to take on that responsibility. You probably paid me. You might make it worth my while, but you still taking me out of my way. I could possibly be missing a ride worth more than what you gonna give me for spending the time to bring you your belongings back. So that's being professional. Making sure that if you're a professional, then you're gonna make sure that whatever items your customer gets in the vehicle with, they take, right? So again, how much more a baby? You're not leaving no motherfucking baby in the car with me while you do nothing. Hell no. That's like scary. An infant. And then especially if you have children, because children are a responsibility, and you shouldn't want to. It has to be special circumstances. I gotta believe that it's the Lord. It's the Lord's calling for me to take on the responsibility of another child, temporary or not. With me having my own children, because it's not, as Jake's, striving for the truth. It's not easy. It's more difficult to But anyways, I don't want to go off ranting. If this was my woman, I would have been mad as hell at her for bringing another baby back to the house. Like I'd have been pissed off. But so she didn't have to do that. She chose to do that. And again, right, going into this lesson, the carelessness and recklessness of the bad decision making of women. They're unfit parents, and this, of course, this doesn't apply for all women. There's levels. You have women that sincerely try their best, and no matter how hard you try, you still not going. It's still no one perfectly raises their children, but you have those that try their best. And you have those that don't give a fuck. They put minimum effort. They don't put minimum effort into actually raising their children. They maintain their children. Like I heard this one woman say on social media, they maintain their children and make sure that they got a roof over their head. They go to school. They eat. They have clothes on their back. They make sure they do the bare minimum, but they mentally don't instill any type of mental solid foundation so that they can develop into mature professional adults, which makes professional which makes professional workers and customers, because you need both. You need both, right? Professional, productive members of society. But anyways, Salakia, getting off track. I'm trying to Oh, right. So they maintain their children. Then you do have those who, they go above and beyond, to send their children to college. Even though college is bullshit. They actually parent and raise their children as best as they possibly can, understanding what it means to raise a child. Instilling morals and a solid mental foundation, which ultimately this scripture say train up a child the way it should go. The way that you should train up your child, is under Yahweh Shema Shah, to know the Lord, right? To know the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what makes you a professional adult, no matter what your nationality is, But That's why, you know, our people, the 12 tribes of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, are destroyed because we broke the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. And part of the judgments and consequences for that, you know, part of the curses is us being conquered and having disorder and dysfunction amongst our nation, you know, and the nation of so-called white man, the devil in the flesh, is to blame for all of this. You know, they deliberately destroy the order of our people, especially you so-called Negroes, you know, the southern tribes. But they destroy our households by putting pressure on a woman to push the man out, you know. But so right, I got that. Again, fair use is for educational purposes. Oh yeah, this is for educational purposes only, right? That, and then this that was from 5 days ago. This was from today.
This is a shocking story. A baby found alone on a subway platform. This happened on the southbound 123 lines at 34th Street. News 4's Gus Rosendale rushed to the scene. Gus, first and foremost, how is the baby doing?
Ilma, first and foremost, the good news, the baby's doing okay, conscious and alert, according to the NYPD, and taken to Bellevue Hospital. But certainly this was a case of see something, say something, and see something someone did. Here is the scene just downstairs from me here. Our photographer, Keith Veltman, among those first on scene. You can see the NYPD securing the area where this baby was found. This is at the Herald Square subway station, 34th Street and 7th Avenue, all happening just a little after 9:30 this morning. The baby was found near the southbound 123 lines. No word yet on the age or sex of the baby. But Gilma, just think of the location and timing of all this. This was at the tail end of the rush hour, and even with the Diwali holiday, it was a very bustling and active area. I was just down the station a short time ago. A lot of people down there, a lot of people around, though it's not clear how long this baby was left alone. Again, the baby was reported to the police, taken to the hospital, and is doing okay. The police beginning their investigation. It's also worth noting it is a felony in New York to leave a child under the age of 14, to abandon a child under the age of 14. But New York also has the safe haven law, which allows you to leave a child in what's called an appropriate place. Think a hospital, police station, or fire station, not Penn Station.
All right, so there you have it. And these type of situations are going to continue to increase. You know, part of the judgments, all right, and signs, part of the judgments that the Lord has for the sins that are being done in the earth in these last days, all right, and signs, you know, part of the signs of how we know we're that close to the end, you know, because these the devil come scripture saying the devil come down with great wrath, knowing that he have for a short time. We're, Lord willing, you know, we're living in the days where this is being fulfilled. At the beginning of the time of Jacob's trouble, the hour of temptation, you know, the time where things will get dark, violent, scary, unsafe for the earth, all right, especially America, known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures. Things are gonna get real spooky. You know, the pressure is going to continue. You know, racial tensions is going to continue to rise. Domestic violence is going to continue. People unaliving themselves. They gotta. I saw a trend. One of the brothers posted. I saw two videos where it's a new trend where young men and women, teenagers, so-called teenagers, are posting or picking a date where they will be unaliving themselves, and so again, it's all part of the signs of the times, and you will continue to see these things. They will increase the closer we get to the end, and it's really going to intensify, because people can't take it. People, majority of the people that are about to experience the things that are is now. The stock market had, fell, to dramatic numbers. I'm not into that. So, I just know other news. I could touch the surface on that financial stock market world, but I know enough to know that there's been reports of people unaliving themselves due to the instabilities in the stock market, the economy, and it all ties in, right? Again, because what? Again, they can't handle the pressure, the devil coming down with great wrath, changing laws and making decisions that affect the masses of the people in society, which oppresses them, mentally, all right, spiritually, physically, financially, and if that's why the scriptures say, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. The wisdom and knowledge of the scriptures given to the men of the Lord, the Lord's elect, the 1/3 beginning with the 144,000. That's will keep them solid, strong, mentally stable in these last days, while everyone else is losing it. They don't know what to do. They don't know what's going on. They don't know where to start to figure it out. They haven't prepared themselves. The end shall come as a thief in the night. They're totally going to be blindsided. It's happening now. They're being blindsided by the change, the transition that's taking place on the face of the earth. From this wicked to change, the earth going from a wicked rulership to a righteous rulership. So tensions are going to increase. The pressure is going to continue to come down, and people are going to lose their shit and getting to the point. Many women are going to abandon their children in these days, and because, mind you, children that they never wanted to have in the first place, many people, men and women alike, they often have children out of impulse, out of just casual dating and having sex, one night stands, and not planning to start a family, to be in a relationship, for that matter. A lot of children come out of adultery, men and women just laying down with anyone, and and this is what made Tupac's "Brenda's Had a Baby" song so impactful, because it was something that was really, first of all, it was supposed to be based on a true story. It wasn't exactly a true story, if I'm not mistaken, but it was based on a true story, and it was something that happened all the time, especially back then in the 90s, the 80s, the 90s, that whole crack epidemic era, and it still goes on, all right. But again, it's going to continue to increase. You're going to hear about these incidents. You're going to see it more and more, and again, it's part of the judgments of the Lord, you know, and like I said, many of these women shouldn't have children in the first place, man. You know, they're not in the right mind. They're not prepared. They don't commit themselves and think and, you know, and embrace having a child as that being a lifetime commitment. You know, they're not, most of them, and they're not prepared to, for their life to change forever in that dramatic way, you know. So what he said, right? Because this incident was 34 for 7. That's you know, that's anybody could grab your child, you know, and just think about where your mind has to be for you either cruel as hell, you know, or you're under that much stress, that much pressure, to where as though you know, not only do you abandon your child, you don't just give it up to adoption. It's an infant. This is an infant. You don't give your child up to a and now I'm not sure that's the only thing about this incident. It really doesn't matter, but it really doesn't matter because it applies. This is something that will be universal. All right. It happens a lot. It happens more so with Jake. All right. Because these devils, they don't, you know, they the ones that are doing the adopting. You know, they cherish the shit. And then they weird as hell. They be doing all types of weird shit, sex magic, fucking they into all types of pedophilia. You know, they the ones kidnapping and adopting, you know, and obsessed with having children, you know, even if they don't have bad intentions, you know, their race, their nation is unfertile. They're not reproducing nowhere near how Jake reproduces. They it happens with them, right? You do have careless and reckless devils as well, right? But this primarily happens with Jake. So I don't know what's the nationality of this baby, but it doesn't matter because this is something that all nations of people are gonna do, you know, in these coming days. America being a melting pot, all different races and nations being here, and everyone is going to feel it. But definitely Jake, you know, definitely 2/3 of our people, you know, because our people is the ones that's at the bottom of the bottom, you know, and we always suffer the worst. We always suffer the worst, and you know, under this devil's system. Salakia. So, oh yeah, right. So she could have left the baby anywhere. She left the baby in the middle of 34th and 7th. You know, all types of crime, all types of shady people, you know, go back and forth. You know, that child could have easily been kidnapped or abducted, taken. All right. And the mother didn't give a fuck. And it's an infant, you know, that Salakia. Slow down. Like this devil said, right? He said it's good to note that it's illegal to abandon a child under, I think he said 14. And there's a safe haven like law or something like that. You can, if you're gonna abandon a child, you can do it in safe places, like we said a fire station, right? A hospital, a police station, you know, not Penn Station, you know. So how careless and reckless is that? You know, you could have set your baby up for adoption, right? And they give you that option. You know, I think they ask you that when you have a child. You know, if you want to give your baby up for adoption, you could set it up before you even have the child. You know, so that's just another level of carelessness and recklessness. You know, and this is Lamentations 4:1, right? How has the gold become dim? What is the gold? The nation of Israel. We were once kings and rulers, all right, princesses. In the time of when we were still in our homeland, all right. In the times of the kings, all right, Saul, David, Solomon, all right, all the kings after that, until we went into captivity, all right. We were a great people. We had a kingdom, we had a rulership, we ruled over, you know, when no nation could come against us in war and prevail, as long as we were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, as long as we were doing right by the Lord, right? And then we fell from that position of power, all right? We, to where as though we're in the ghettos going through what it is that we have to suffer, all right, now. All right, being strung out on drugs, deleting one another, you know, at alarming rates, defrauding one another, you know, robbing each other, you know, we're crabs in a barrel. Everyone is just trying to take advantage of, you know, we live in a hood because we are not neighborly, you know. We don't have neighborhoods. We pridefully, you know, 2/3 of our people pridefully live in the hood, you know, brag about the hood. But anyways, how has the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. Right, we're scattered across the four corners of the earth. All right, and no matter where you find us, we're in the slums of the areas that we occupy, that we're forced and stuffed into, you know, crammed on top of each other, you know, or very close to each other. All right, without having that space, that personal space, right? We should have our own land. We should have a nice, spacious home. All right. The more space we have, the more room we have to breathe. You know, to think. You know, it's called personal space. Everyone needs it, and the more you have it, the more it helps you to deal with others when you come across their space. All right, it helps you better to communicate, you know, because that's how you learn. That's how you examine. You do a lot of examining yourself. That's, you know, you do a lot of self-reflecting and getting to know yourself, you know, and preparing yourself to deal with others, you know. But when you cramped up and you have little to no time for yourself, you know, when you piss, someone, you know, can hear it. You know, you take a shit, somebody gotta smell it. You know, living with a lot of people, Jake like to shack up too. You know, we barely could afford to pay our bills, and so we often have family members shacking up, living with us, and it's, you know, you got two families in a one family house or apartment. All right, and then you stacked on top of each other. You know, soon as you walk out of your door, you stepping on somebody Air Force Ones. Now you gotta get to a shootout. It's just not the way things is supposed to be. Verse 2, it says, "The precious sons of Zion." Zion, the holy name, the nickname for Jerusalem, right? The holy city of the nation of Israel, which is a people before it's a place. So when you see Zion, it's talking about Israel. For those, you know, the precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter, right? So now we went from being gold, right? A gold cup is valued way much more than a cup made out of clay. You know, like whatever the material is of a coffee mug. You know, so that's how much we've changed due to the curses, due to us breaking the law, statutes, and commandments, worshiping the gods of these heathen nations which don't exist, which hold no power. All right. So Salaki. So who's the potter, right? The Heavenly Father. And the Lord created the nation of Israel in a certain way, to be a specific way. All right. And we're supposed to be comparable to gold, and not just something made that like clay, right? A pot made of clay, not like that. All right, that's how these other nations have been created. You know, they're just regular dishes. We're golden dishes, right? Salaki. It says, even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones, right? Whales, what, sea lions, right? Even seals, what else animals? Mammals of the water, right? Even the sea monsters draw out the breast. They give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness, right? Our people, the women of our nation, are careless. All right, they're neglectful. They don't breastfeed their children, no matter how much a nurse, a doctor, a father, you know, anyone would stress how healthy it is for a child, how beneficial it is for a child's brain development and overall growth. You know, she'd rather get the Similac or the Enfamil, which has been found to be not only less beneficial, less nutritional, you know, but also toxic. It says, the daughter of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness, and that's the perfect way to describe the women of our nation. When it comes to parenting, when it comes to being neighborly, overall, right? Especially these fucking Judite women, you know, they're cruel. They're you call them out on their shit, they'll be quick to say I don't give a fuck. They'll be quick to say fuck you and God, right? Fuck you and them kids, you know. It says like the ostriches in the wilderness. Ostriches will lay their eggs, bury them in the ground, and, you know, to be incubated until they're hatched, you know, to stay warm, but then forget the nesting site and go back and trample all over it, killing her own babies, you know. And our women, the number one cause of women have compared to men, women have more bodies than men for abortions alone, you know. So that's how much the curses are on Jake, you know. You have a great chance of being deleted before you even born. One of my sons, I saw him born, and it brought tears in my eyes because he when he came out, and it's very common. My Eve's umbilical cord was about to take him out. His head was swollen up, purple. You know, he looked like he was being lynched out of the womb, man. That was some heavy shit. But yeah, you know, abortions. You know, the women of our nation, you know, that have children for the wrong reasons. You know, or didn't have intentions on having a child in the first place. You know, didn't find out, didn't you know, they'll get pregnant. You know, they'll want to take a plan B, you know, which is off, which is wicked. All right. They'll want to take a plan B, forget to take a plan B. You know, you got, I think, 2 or 3 days, the 2 or 3 day window to take what they call a plan B, and you know, it'll delete the baby before it develops into, you know, anything. But you might you know, they'd have intentions, they'll miss the window, you know, just from being careless and reckless, and then wound up, you know, they might want to have an abortion, you know, but take too long. Some women, I've heard women brag about having abortions at 6 months and plus. You know, I'm saying 6 months to be nice because, you know, it's like, in my mind, it don't even seem possible. Like, I can't imagine. Anyway, that shit is just wicked. But, you know, if I'm not mistaken, like 7 months, I think it was, like, I don't know. But it's off regardless. It's wicked regardless. But it's even more cruel the longer you wait to have the abortion. You know, and that's why the Lord is going to bring death and destruction, you know, nuclear bombs and torment and fire, you know, to this place because of this type of wickedness that's being done here. You know, these doctors, you know, performing these homicides, you know, because that's what they are, right? You got these, from the doctors to the women that go in there, you know, you men too, you know, the men persuading, forcing, you know, threatening, you know, agreeing with you know, the women going in there doing these getting these abortions. You know, the Lord, you know, lest you repent, the Lord is going to judge each and every last one of the 2/3 of our people for these atrocities that we do to ourselves, man. All right, that we allow these devils to fucking get off on us. But anyways, the daughter of my people has become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness, right? They abandon their children. You know, they delete them. You know, it says the tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children as bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. You know, so like I said, our whole nation, right? Isaiah 1, the whole head is sick, right? From the head to the foot, the whole body is sick, right? From the head to the foot, right? The whole nation is fucked up, all right? The elect too, you know, but they're being cleansed, all right? They're being separated, they're being cleansed, all right? They're being purged, they're being cleaned, all right? They're being made right, they're being made worthy, and ultimately they're gonna be justified, all right, for the sins that they commit, where they fall short at, you know, unwillingly, you know, by default. But anyways, it says the tongue of the sucking child cleaveth to the roof of his mouth for thirst. The young children as bread, and no man breaketh it unto them. Right. So we don't look out for one another. You know, we don't us all together, we are out of order, right? We are out of order. And you're part of the problem if you're not a part of the solution. And what's the solution? Returning back to Yahweh Shem Shah, keeping the law, statutes, commandments to the best of our ability. All right. Rehearsing the righteous acts. And that's what, like I said in the beginning of the video, that's what makes all humanity truly civilized. All right. That's the only way that the Lord, that you can live on earth and be blessed. All right. Salaki, it says Lamentations 4 and 5. They that did feed delicately, we was eating good, right? We had everything our hearts could desire for when we were in power, when we were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, all right, before we fell as a nation. They that did feed delicately are desolate, meaning empty, in the streets, right? We run 2/3 of our people, right? The scriptures say what? She that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. You know, and that's the mentality of 2/3 of our people. Women rule over that world of our people, all right? That vibration, that spirit moves, you know, effeminate as weak as men, all right? Allowing, you know, bowing down to the power and authority of women because of the pressure of Esau, Edom, the nation of so-called white man, with, you know, them being backup, all right? Matter of fact, this was a perfect description. This was a perfect illustration the brother had posted. I don't know where he got it from, you know. This is exactly what our people have to deal with, what the elect have to deal with and have to endure. You know, this is what we're looking to be saved from. This is our world. You know, women are in rulership under this devil's authority and you know, under this devil's authority, under this devil's watch. All right. And while she's in power, she's unstable, she's out of control, she's careless, she's reckless, and she's being used as a tool to destroy her own people, her own community. All right. They that did feed delicately are desolate. We're empty, right? We run around partying and acting like we know something about the world when we don't know shit. Acting like we rich, but we without this truth, whatever we have is temporary. When you're gonna lose it. All right. The only thing worth having, all right, that can truly fill you, all right, and make you full rather than empty, no matter how much money you have, no matter what goods you have, no matter what status you have, all right, is this truth, is Yahweh Shema Shah says in the streets, all right, and that's not, if you're in the right spirit, the streets is not where you want to be. The Lord is putting an end to the streets, you know, the so-called real nigga. The Lord is exposing him. You know, the Lord is exposing you niggas. The Lord is exposing the instability of the foundation of you niggas, man. Of 2/3 of our people who love the streets, who love a street nigga. You know, love that ratchet ass thought, whatever. Like I hate this shit so much. I really hate really getting, like, really thinking about it, because I really get like pissed off. But it says, because what? Not only are we suffering, our people know we're suffering, we know why we're suffering, but yet 2/3 of our people take pride in the things that contribute to our suffering. And it pisses me off to the point where it's like, all right, you know, you know there's no solution but getting rid of them, but you fucking gotta hold your peace till the Lord get that green light. But anyways, they that did feed delicately are desolate in the streets. They that were brought up in scarlet, right? Being I think scarlet is purple, right? It might be red, Salak. I think crimson is red. I think scarlet is purple, right? Regardless what the exact color is, it's a royal color, right? It says they that were brought up in scarlet embraced dunghills, all right, which dung is shit, all right. And again, our people love to brag about being what? The shit. You can't make this shit up, you know. You know, that's exactly what the hood smell like. Shit, you know, niggas and flies, you know, you know, which is a symbol of disorder, you know, and instability. You know, we don't have our shit together. Kids running in the streets, you know, dogs barking, shitting everywhere, garbage thrown in the middle of the street, you know, windows busted out, fucking car boarded up, you know, fire, houses burned down, people smoking fucking crack in the middle of the, you know, and for anyone to see them, you know, they that were brought up in scarlet embraced dunghill. So showing you the transition, showing you the change, showing you how much we fell. Verse 6, for the punishment of the iniquity of the daughter of my people is greater than the punishment of the sin of Sodom, that was overthrown as in a moment, and no hands stayed on her. Right? So once the Lord, you know, what the Lord has allowed, has caused to happen to the nation of Israel, which we're still suffering, and we're at the end where, you know, it's going to intensify one last time. All right, the Lord going to remind 2/3 of our people one last time. All right, the elect is going to be in it too. You know, they're going to be on the better side of it, but they're going to feel it as well. You know, you know, as far as temptation, as far as testing, you know, but hundreds of years we've been suffering, we've been going through captivity, we've been persecuted, we've been destroyed. All right, we've been dealing with the effects of the curses being on us. All right, while Sodom and Gomorrah, wicked as hell, was destroyed, you know, even though it was by fire, and fire is a very horrible way to die. You know, once the Lord passed the judgment, it was over. You know, it didn't stretch out for hundreds of years. All right, but that's how much the Lord, you know, was pissed at us. You know, because we went back and forth with playing the Lord out as a nation. You know, we would get judged. We would repent. The Lord would forgive us. We'd do it again, over and over. You know, Jake is hard-headed. All right, a bunch of hard-headed hoes and knuckleheads. I think that was it on that. Yeah, that's good. Another one on ostriches, right? Job 39:13. It says, "Gavest thou the goodly wings unto the peacocks?" Right, the Lord gave the peacock its unique look. All right, and when it spreads its, you know, its tail feathers, all right, it's a beautiful sight. All right, that's the creativity, all right, of the Lord. That's the greatness of the Lord. You know, on a flip, on one side, when they fluff up their tail feathers, it's a beautiful sight in the eyes of men, all right. But to a predator, you know, it's meant to be a defense, you know, a first line of defense for that animal. "Gavest thou the goodly wings unto the peacocks, or wings and feathers unto the ostrich?" The Lord created everything the way he created it, right? Verse 14, "Which leaveth her eggs in the earth, and warmeth them in dust, and forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beasts may break them." Right? So just, right, showing you the point that I said earlier, as far as, you know, how ostriches are careless and reckless over their own offspring. It says, "She is hardened against her young ones, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear." All right. And so this is the mentality of 2/3 of the women of our nation. All right. She is hardened against her young ones. She mad. She mad that they, you know, changed her life. All right. She got stretch marks. You know, she might have gained weight. You know, she got all these extra bills, this extra responsibility everywhere she goes. She got the thought of this nagging ass child in her mind. All right. And that's why they curse you. That's why they verbally abuse their children. All right. If they don't physically do it. All right. And the decisions that they make just causes for their children, if they don't abandon them all the way, there's many levels of neglect. All right. Emotionally, spiritually, you know, physically, the decisions that they make, you know, will cause their children to eat less food, not be as healthy, physically. A lot of them, they'll take food stamps, they'll cash them in, which you're not getting the exact amount. You might trade in $100 of food stamps and get $30 of cash. You not only is you losing out on the value of which not you losing out on what you could get. You then take that money and get drugs, or liquor. She is hardened against her young ones, right? She regret that she had children as though they were not hers, right? And a lot of children, they complain about their parents, especially about their mothers, treating them as if they are not their own children. It says her labor is in vain. They went through all of those labor pains, for nothing. All right. It says without fear. They don't care. They don't have a fear of what is going to happen to their child. They in the back of their mind, they might not admit it. They might not come out their mouth and say it, but they wish that something happened to their child, because, so that they could get some type of benefits out of it. They have children for benefits. Matter of fact, look at this. Everybody always asking me, why am I single? Why am I a single mother of 5 at the age of 26? If y'all was really smart, you understand kids is the biggest hustle out here. I don't clock into no job. I let Uncle Sam and baby daddies cut me a check every month. 5 kids, 5 bags. Food stamps, free rent, free health care, and child support on top of that. My bills paid before I even wake up. Everybody keep asking me why I had 5 kids, because every single one come with a check attached. My life secured. While y'all stressing over 9 to 5s. Don't be mad at me. Be mad at you ain't catch on to the hustle. What is that? FB lifestyle. I don't know what that stands for. But yeah, so if it don't apply, let it fly, of course. But this applies 9 times out of the 10 when it comes to you Jakes, especially you fucking Judites, man. Right? You so-called Negroes. So again, these women, they're ultimately they're under that vibration of Esau, Edom, the nation of so-called white man, the wicked of the earth, and they're just as cunning as their fucking daddy Satan, or the nation of so-called white man that does the bidding of Satan. But right, they're cunning, right? They work the system. They learn to work the system. They learn to manipulate this world, which favors them over the men of our nation, the men of our nation. And they work the system, to their benefit, and it doesn't matter, that their children and the fathers don't matter. If it's, all right, they have children for food stamps, to get Section 8, all right, subsidized housing, all these things faster. Domestic violence, they're knowing that they could get an apartment faster if they are if they've been a victim of domestic violence. They would deliberately, if they don't have nowhere to stay, they deliberately antagonize you, provoke you as a man to put your hands on her so that she can have a case, shit like that. They'll put life insurance on a child, on a father, you know, and if they're not in the right mind, they, you know, being desperate of getting that payout from that insurance policy, they'll set up some type of scheme for one of their loved ones to be taken out. So yeah, she is hardened against her young ones as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear, because God have deprived her of wisdom. Right? It's you know, very difficult for a woman. A woman is just not made to be on the level of a man. You know, you do it. It does exist, and that's because men are nowhere near on the level of what they're supposed to be. You know, but in the kingdom, you know, you're clearly going to tell the difference from men and women. All right, because God have deprived her of wisdom. All right, it's difficult for them to make wise decisions. All right, especially the more power that they have. They're not made to deal with pressure. They're not made to deal with suffering. All right, and so the more pressure and suffering comes, as the closer we get to the end of this thing, the more they're going to become cruel. The more they're going to abandon their responsibilities. All right. It says, neither have he imparted to her understanding. Okay. Isaiah 1:9, except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Right. So the only reason why we haven't been totally destroyed, all right, like Sodom and Gomorrah as a nation of Israel, is because of the 1/3, beginning with the 144,000, the remnant, the elect of the nation of Israel, those who are predestined to be delivered in these last days from the judgment of the Lord, the thermonuclear destruction. All right. But again, you know, the Lord, if it wasn't for the Lord having mercy on his elect, you know, all of these efforts of our enemies looking to exterminate us, looking to destroy us, all right, would have been successful. You know, all of the abortions out the women of our nation have gotten under this devil's rulership. All right, all of the men, women, and children whose lives have been destroyed, all right, because of circumstances and situations surrounding the women of our nation that is out of their mind and out of order because of this devil's rulership. All right. You know, it's a miracle. It's because of divine intervention from Yahweh Shema Shah that not only is the nation of Israel still in existence amongst the other nations, but the elect have returned to the Lord, have figured it out, all right, and you know, outsmarted, right, in a way, all of the efforts of these heathens, you know, and not only have we survived, but we're rising back up. We're about to not only get our power back, but we're about to increase in power more than we ever was in power forevermore. All right, the story of the nation of Israel is the only one true and living happily ever after you will ever see or read of. Right before our eyes, it's happening. All right, the salvation, the saving of the damsel in distress is coming. Isaiah 1:9, except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah, right? Totally destroyed. This is Luke chapter 23 and 27. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him, right? Yahushua, who the world, and because Jesus Christ, he was, it was time for him to be crucified. It was time for him to make that ultimate sacrifice for the sins, for the taking away of the sins of our nation, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians only, the 12 tribes of Israel only, all right? And so it's, a crowd of people was following him, believers, followers, haters, and you had women, you had people that were crying. Verse 28, but Yahushua turning unto them said, daughters of Jerusalem, the women of our nation, right? Weep not for me, don't cry for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children, because of all of the things that our nation, our women, the men, women, and children of our nation would have to suffer during the fall of our nation. All right, 70 AD was a pinnacle, was a pivotal moment, for our fall. There was a lot of horrifying, horrible things done in the siege of Jerusalem. The women of our nation, our people resorted to cannibalism. All right, children were being were starving. There was a famine, right? Our people were starving, resorting to cannibalism, children being eaten. There was a lot of death, and that's about to happen again. All right, at the end of all of these thousands of years of suffering for our nation. All right, and again, a part of the curses leading up to the weeping, all right, that the sufferings that our people go through is under the hands of the women of our nation. Their cruelty and how they would treat not only the men but the children, their own children that come out of their own womb. Right? And so that's why the Lord got this coming down the pipe for you, for the women of our nation. All right? It's going to affect all of us, but these women is going to suffer the worst because these benefits, all right, what the scripture say, the vengeance shall fail. Lament for the teats, all right, rise up, ye careless women, all right, those benefits are going to be cut, all right, and there is a great possibility that it could be coming next month, and the prophets of the Lord, the men of the Lord, been prophesying that this was going to happen. Part of America, Babylon, a great falling and being destroyed. Its decline. Will SNAP benefits be cut next month? EBT, food stamps. I think WIC is a different benefit program, but any of those government funding programs, all of those things are being threatened. It says, yes, there is a risk that supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, benefit payments in New Jersey could be delayed or reduced in November 2025. Due to unresolved federal funding, here are the key details. What we do know, New Jersey has stated that SNAP benefits in the women, infants, and children. Wait, right? So I guess I was on point. In the Women's, Infant, and Children WIC program will continue through the end of October with no change. The state has also explicitly warned that if federal funding continues to be delayed, there could be interruptions to full and on-time benefits in November. Federal authorities, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, have notified states that if the current budget /lapse in appropriations continues, there may be insufficient funds to pay full November SNAP benefits. So, right, this is what the Lord, whether it does happen next month, whether they, it doesn't, it's eventually this is going to be something that is going to happen, or something similar to it, where the benefits that the women of our nation are so used to taking advantage of here in America, Babylon the Great, will be taken away from them, as judgment of the Lord, first and foremost, and a part of this economy changing. This devil bringing about making a change in his system, bringing about desperately looking to establish his new world order. Part of that, him bringing about the fulfillment of the prophecy of the MOTB, which is the implementation of that microchip technology. All right, the market is beast-like system. And when this does happen, it's going to be a game changer, because what's the scripture? A woman that maintaineth her husband is like angry, something like that. I forget exactly how it goes, but yeah, the more a woman has pressure on her to pay the bills, to feed the family, all right, the more, the less resources and benefits and help she has from the government, from Esau, Edom, the more comfortable she is, the more she's, the more tolerable, the more she's able to deal with her attitude. They still have a nasty ass attitude, but the more money you making, the more resources she has access to, the happier she is, the more manageable, the more easier it is to deal with her, all right? Especially if you have the money, and you have, as a man, you have the money, you have the leverage over her, the more easier it is to tolerate and, deal with her. But, and the less money that's coming through the household, if puts a lot of pressure on her, which automatically she gonna put that pressure on you, because she can't deal with it. She can't deal with it, and she get pissed off, and then now it's a possibility for domestic violence type of situation if you got some type of backbone, or but if you using wisdom, you just gonna leave. The Lord dealing with you, you just gonna leave, especially the closer we get to the end of this thing. If you're in the right mind, you're not gonna stick around, for this woman's bullshit. It's not gonna be worth it. It's not gonna be worth it no more. It's the risk will be much greater than the reward, or the reward won't be worth the risk, right? It's just right. So anyway, Salakia is stretched out. so long. All right. I like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Beginning with the 144,000. Shalom.